Welcome to the Pipeline Podcast live stream. Tonight, we're talking about Carmelo Anthony. So, today he got sentenced for murder. I believe it was 35 years. This guy, so Carmelo Anthony, he about a year ago stabbed Austin Metcalf like to death. Like he killed him with a knife and he got sentenced today. It's kind of hard to talk about on YouTube, but people like BLM supporters, that kind of person, there's like a large like resistance group, a large amount of people that are saying Carmelo Anthony is innocent. It was self-defense. The only reason he got convicted is because he's black. It's a race thing. They're saying it's like a Jim Crow conviction or something like that. That's what we're going to talk about tonight. Kind of go over how that's not true at all. This guy did in fact kill Austin Metcalf, like that actually happened, and then he got convicted for it today. If you've been following the story, you know what that means. There's going to be some epic crash outs, and we're going to try to listen to some of them. The issue is, we're going to listen to them on X because there's like a X live chat feature, but there's like no moderation on X. If they start getting toxic or saying vulgar things, we're not going to be able to listen to that. We will have to find something else to watch. So there's a lot of fake news going around with this case. There's one claim that the jury was white. Right here, people are saying it was an all-white jury, but that's not true. It wasn't an all-white jury. It was just a jury without any black people. There were other races, but there wasn't any people of color on the jury. You could almost say supporters of a murderer are trying to say the jury was like racist. It happens whenever a potentially racially charged case, like a high profile case like George Floyd or George Zimmerman, like those kind of things, you get certain people, like it doesn't really matter what the conviction is. Like the justice system is not the system that they follow. They already have made the conclusion up in their head. So you have people like conservative people, I guess, saying this guy's guilty. They don't even care if Carmelo Anthony was found not guilty. They're still going to say he's guilty. Then there's like people on the left, although not like anyone mainstream at all, like not the Democrats, like as a political party, but there's just like leftist people. No matter what the conviction was, they're saying Carmelo Anthony is innocent. We also are going to highlight tonight some similarities between how people on the right feel about the reaction to Carmelo Anthony getting sentenced for murder today and the protest in the UK over like the migrant crime. So this happened the other day. It was like a African migrant almost like killed somebody. They like attempted to behead them. They were like hacking off their head, and the guy, I think he is still alive, but he's like in critical condition. And this is just like the latest high profile one. We've seen other instances of this before. So we just covered it the other day on the channel, the Henry Nowak murder. And then right after, a couple days later, you see this. And now you're seeing mass protests where you have these basically like the white guys, the locals that aren't the migrants, just going out and protesting and saying, hey, like this crime has been going on for a long time and the police aren't doing anything about it. And it almost seems like if you're like a minority, you can kind of get away with a lot of things that other people wouldn't be able to get away with. And that's why the crime's gotten out of control. At least like that's how these protesters feel. And so they're going out and they're saying, if the government's not going to do anything about it, like we're going to start protesting. And there's some really good pictures. Let's take a look at some of these pictures and we can talk about it a lot more. And I would say these pictures, like we don't see anybody getting hurt or whatever. So like these are mostly peaceful. You can't take like one photo and judge the whole protest. They're mostly peaceful protesters. The jury, which wasn't an all-white jury, found this guy guilty and they sentenced him to 35 years. Something about that tells me that he is very much guilty. And there is a video of it apparently, but it hasn't been released yet. So people are saying, I don't know if this is true, but people are saying in a few days it should get released. We'll have to see about that. These are
What's up,
supporters
Tariq? How
of
are
What's
you?
going on, Props? Where you
Carmelo
from with that
Anthony. These
accent?
people think that he's
Well,
innocent.
I'm from East Africa. I wanted to respond to Brandon, though, the white
Yeah.
supremacist, trying to teach us how white
So we have
supremacy
a white
works here.
supremacist in the
I
space.
did not invent this nigga shit. These white little boys, they follow us and tracks and stuff. They don't know where I come from. So he can come here and teach us about white
I think it's
supremacy.
obvious this guy
Thank
does
you. I
come
don't know
from
what you
Africa.
talking.
You can tell by his accent.
Okay. Jake. What's up, Jake?
Okay. All right. What's going on,
What's
y'all?
going on, Jake?
It's first time. What's going on? So I'm honestly one of the few black people, Spanish, that I'm actually pretty glad that Carmelo is actually locked up now.
So you're Spanish?
So here,
Yep,
Like Spanish how? Like what? What's your family?
DR.
So you're Dominican. Okay.
there's
Both
a yeah, it's
sides?
a Dominican guy that thinks Carmelo Anthony
Yep.
Okay.
is
So yeah,
guilty.
you're not
Most people
black.
do
So
think he's
you're
guilty.
not black.
Well, yeah. So a lot of black folks going around talking about me no black, and those other stuff. So I don't know. Am I black or am
No,
I
you're
not?
not. You're Hispanic.
Yeah, and you've heard claims as well that certain people might want to protect their own. Is kind of a claim we've heard, like some of these people say, like some of the supporters of Carmelo Anthony. And you kind of see that like after the death of George Floyd, like the response to it was like disproportional. No matter how you feel about the death of George Floyd, there was a lot of like protests and like property damage, and some people are saying like there might be protests over this. So far, there hasn't been any. I guess at this point, if there hasn't been any, I don't think there will be. But tensions are high right now. We just saw Trump went to that Knicks game in Madison Square Garden, and then after the game, things got a little bit heated. And then we see the massive protest in UK right now, and then across Europe, there's other protests as well. And it really does come down to crime. There are a lot of drivers for the protest. It's not all the same thing, obviously. Like a protest or a street takeover in the US, it's not the same as like a protest in Europe. You see a lot of people saying like, "Hey, can we like just stop criming? Can everybody just stop committing crimes? Like that would be great." And then there might not be a problem here. Listen to this X space.
You are a failure, right?
So this guy that's talking is like
And if it were
pro
not for us,
Carmelo.
you'd be
He's got
selling
hashtag free
pussy
Carmelo.
out there at the damn
And he's pretty
hotel
funny, but he's
Punta Cana right
he's
now,
he has
sir, if
some
it weren't
crazy
for us,
takes
wouldn't you?
that also aren't
You
true.
sound fucking retarded, nigga.
No, sir. I don't. You can't use the N word on me. You got more African DNA than me, sir. You probably got a big old funky afro with some damn lice in it
Yeah,
and
this
some
guy.
taco
This
sauce,
guy
sir.
thinks
So
that
that N
Carmelo
word doesn't
Anthony should
bother
be a
me.
free
You,
man right
y'all
now. And
stay
it's
in
like
denial about your
if
African
you have
ancestry,
supporters
sir. You think
that
you're
talk like
But you just said
this,
that I'm not.
you ain't us.
imagine like if people like that were in control of who gets to be in jail or not. Like that's kind of a problem. And there's a similar case we could pull up. I think it was like a guy in Seattle. Basically, there was this guy in Seattle that got stabbed by a black guy. After he got stabbed, he called the black guy the N-word, and because of that, the jury found the guy that stabbed him not guilty. And I don't know the jury, but it probably was just like a black jury or something like that. I'm not trying to sound racist, but that's kind of what all this outrage from like the right and like these UK protests are about. That's like kind of what we're trying to talk about, I guess. Portland, sorry, it was Oregon, not Seattle. Okay, so this right here, this white guy gets stabbed, right? During the trial, the guy that stabbed him doesn't get convicted because the white guy said the N word after he got stabbed. And so the guy that stabbed him, that's the way I understand it. I'm going to double check it. We can go through this article. But the guy that stabbed him didn't like get in trouble. Oh,
That's not right.
exactly. And that's why it's like the whole argument that the all white jury, which isn't even true, is racist, and that's why he's going to jail, Carmelo Anthony. Like it's fake news. It's the opposite. If the jury was all black, the Carmelo Anthony, the murderer, would have walked. He would have gotten away with it. And it's people like that guy in the X space that we were listening to that advocate for that. And it's like clearly obvious they obviously shouldn't be in charge of who gets to go to jail or not. But I think this is a case of that happening. An Old Town stabbing case ended in defeat for Multnomah County prosecutors once jurors learned the wounded man had been videoed uttering a racist slur in the struggle's aftermath. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. So the dude gets stabbed
Call him a racial slur after he got stabbed.
after he
I
got
probably would
stabbed.
too.
Yeah, that's a very moderate reaction to getting stabbed. An appropriate reaction would be like stabbing him back, like it's self-defense. That guy's trying to kill you or whatever. He didn't even do that. He just he just said some words, and so he got off. And so like a guy got away with stabbing because the jury sees a racist as like scarier than a murderer, and that's what we were talking about last week with Henry Nowak's case. That's why the officer didn't think that he was stabbed, because the guy that stabbed him said that he was being a racist. And we've seen massive protests and massive uproar about that. And it kind of shows like systemic two-tier policing in the UK and in a lot of the institutions as well, like systemic issues, kind of like DEI. Okay, Gary Edwards was charged with second-degree assault for knifing a stranger. Edwards admitted to the stabbing on the witness stand, and then Edwards, the guy who stabbed the white guy, Gregory, the guy who did the stabbing, testified that Gregory started yelling the racist slur at the start of the confrontation, but Gregory denies that, so it's like a he said, she said. But there's video evidence of him saying it after the stabbing. And so that's what the jurors went with. And the big issue here is it really doesn't matter, because even if there was a crazy racist out there, which isn't true in this case, or at least there's no proof of it, but the problem with that is you could stab somebody, call the police, and say he was saying racist stuff to me, and it was self-defense. Do you like see the problem with that? Stabbing someone is a worse crime than being a racist. Like, I don't agree with racism or racists, but I would rather live next door to a racist than someone who's gonna stab people. Like, that's so obvious to me. And so there's a lot of cases like that that actually happen when people claim that the justice system is discriminatory against minorities. Well, we quite often see the opposite of that. And let's check this space out again, see if things settle down a little bit.
At a lot of these celebrities that are
And then we
just, it's
turn
a
it up
lot
a
of
little bit.
celebrities ain't saying nothing, want to stay away from it. Of course, you know, legacy organizations, NAACP, Urban League, the Divine Nine, none of them are really chiming in when we need them to.
Right.
But of course, anytime somebody else, another community gets harmed, they want us to be front and center. So I'm paying attention to everything. But above all else, I'm actually upbeat because our brother is alive and well, and he's going to be protected. So I'm not looking at this as a loss. It's just a stay. This is just a long drawn out win. That's all it is. He's gonna win that appeal, and it's gonna be what it is. I land my
My
plane.
man, go talk. That's good stuff. Yeah, like I said, understand cats in jail. When it comes to black youths who are very smart and scholarly, whatever, they've always protected them. So yeah, the people on the inside, they're going to feel a certain way about this kid being railroaded. He's going to be good.
Oh yeah, they're
So yeah,
saying in
they've
prison
created a
he's gonna
living
have a lot of
martyr.
street cred.
Rebecca, what's up, Rebecca?
I agree with that. It's a
Hi.
really high profile
I just
case.
want to say there's no winners in this situation. A 22-year-old son, an 18-year-old daughter, and an almost 16-year-old daughter, all athletes. Both those boys lost their lives that day.
Sure.
And
I mean,
he
yeah.
he absolutely did not win today. He's going to prison.
Well, yeah. He
His
made the
defense
choice
was
to lose his
terrible.
life. The other guy that got murdered didn't,
After being convicted of
and
murder,
he's not even dead.
I would have never asked the jury to determine my fate, how many years I'm going to serve in prison. I would have given that to the judge. So whoever is representing him is the most stupidest fucking person.
Oh, we could talk about that a little bit. So there was a lot of people saying Carmelo Anthony's defense, his lawyer did a really bad job. And I agree. That actually appears to be true. Hot take about that is basically people on the right would respond to that and say, well, it's because they didn't have any evidence that proved he was acting in self-defense. That's why the defense was so bad. And allegedly, I mean, this is true. I just don't have a source on it, and I haven't looked into it too much. But one of the defense's own witnesses testified that Carmelo Anthony started the confrontation. So it's like you even have one of their witnesses saying like it wasn't a racist white guy that started the fight that made Carmelo Anthony scared for his life. Like, that's not what happened here. That's usually not what happens. Most people in real life aren't racist, except for potentially you're seeing some examples of racism like after this case. And I will say it is on both sides politically, but when it comes to like who's actually like getting stabbed or who's actually not getting charged for specific crimes because like the claim racism is brought up, I mean, it looks like it's only one group. It does look one-sided there. And so the conviction of Karmelo Anthony is kind of like, I would say like a return to like real punishment, equal punishment. 35 years for murder is like a pretty average conviction. Most people spend their whole life in prison if they murder someone. So like obviously this guy should get like a life sentence. We can watch this. Let's try to find a longer video. So there was a little bit of protest outside the courthouse after the sentencing today. See if I can find a long clip on it.
A legal lynching that happened in here today. I said as a former prosecutor, this was a legal lynching. They had.
So yeah, she's a former prosecutor and she's claiming it was a legal lynching. So my best guess is like, that's probably why she's a former prosecutor and not a prosecutor anymore. Because like that's a stretch. That's a very hard case to make. And I would really argue like the US isn't that racist of a country.
In this slaughterhouse. This is a slaughterhouse. This is not a court.
Like no one's denying that Karmelo Anthony killed that guy. Like no one's denying that. So like it's almost hard to argue that like he's not a murderer and like murderers should go to jail without getting into it too much. That's my hot take.
This courthouse is designed when you will come here and you look like us to slaughter you. That judge intentionally. Let her talk.
Yeah, so you have crazy takes like this, which is like super interesting. And then you compare it to, let's see if we can find some sources on the UK peaceful protests. This is totally unrelated, but this is a good post that we'll probably cover on the channel at some point. There was the interview. It was like the one in the farm with Trump. I believe it was CBS or NBC where he walked off. This is one of the interactions in the interview. So quote from Trump, they ushered them into the building and he's talking about J6, where it's like, this is a video of the police ushering the J6 insurrectionists into the building. So he makes that claim in the interview, Trump, and the reporter says there's no evidence of that. And basically Trump gets pissed, storms off. He's like, there's more evidence of that than like a lot of things. Like there's so much evidence. And he like drops the mic, steps on it, walks out. It was pretty epic, to be honest. But anyway, the reporter also crashed out when Trump said that. Like she was like, she got like, it looked like visibly angry to me. It looked like they both got visibly angry. It was like very unprofessional for her, not for Trump. I feel like Trump responded appropriately because there is a lot of shit about J6. We've covered this on the channel. It's so hard to go into very quickly, and this isn't what we're covering on the video. But check this out. It's police escorting the January 6th insurrectionists into the building. And I forget what they like to be called, like J6 participant or J6 protest, J6 volunteer. I don't know. They don't like to be called insurrectionists for obvious reasons. Because here, you just basically, you even have the guys shrugging like the J6 protesters. You even have them saying like, are you sure? Are you sure? Like, this isn't a trick? Yeah, look at, like, he's like surprised. He's like, you sure? And the police are like, yeah, come on. Like that, this is a real video. And basically what this is this is entrapment. If you want to look at it racially on white people, which is interesting. Not related to the video though. Just thought I would cover that. We'll definitely talk about it more on the channel. Here, this is yesterday. So after the Knicks game in New York, this is yesterday. Basically have like street takeovers, which is also a hot topic. People are like, you know, I should be able to go to the mall on the weekend if I want to. And I think that's very reasonable. They might say it in a different way, some people. They might get a little heated over it, but that's basically what they want. Belfast is where you have the largest protest in the UK right now over the migrant crime. So they have the grooming gangs, which are actually just R-word gangs, but the UK government like changes the language to make it seem like not as bad. And it's like migrants that are doing this. They're having like a migrant crime issue. And the problem is if you say that in the UK, they'll call you a racist. And in the UK, if someone feels like you said something that is hurtful, like you don't have freedom of speech in the UK, so you can call the police and the guy who made the statement will go to jail. And so like if there's anyone that says this migrant crime is a problem, they can basically just be called racist. And then everyone's like, oh, you're a racist. That's worse than a migrant criminal. So you see protest over that right now. It was these two. So it was this guy today, I believe it was a Sudanese migrant. He like almost chopped a dude's head off. And then this guy, like last week, oh, there was body cam footage revealed that a white guy got stabbed basically by like a racist immigrant guy is what it actually looks like. The racist immigrant guy called the white guy racist, and they arrested the guy and he died. Henry Nowak, crazy story. And yeah, again, we covered that one on the channel. Okay, I want to talk more about Carmelo Anthony though. Let me find that Spaces again.
I mean I followed the case relatively closely, and that I didn't
I
see that come
haven't,
out at
but
all.
I've been getting up to date on it
Okay, you're playing dumb.
like the
I'm not
last couple
playing dumb.
days.
I mean I followed the whole case. Like I was
That's
I was
the
reading
Twitter.
the
That's not me.
tweets from the courthouse
Yeah,
reporters.
And your
this is
ground,
the Twitter.
self-defense.
It's a Twitter space.
You have no duty to retreat. He was not doing anything illegal, and somebody did something illegal to him, and he
They're
defended
talking about
himself, and now they
Carmelo
threw him in jail.
Anthony.
It has to be proportional.
No,
Yes,
it doesn't.
it does.
No, it doesn't.
100% it does.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
It says who?
No,
The
the
law
law
doesn't say that, Tariq. I can promise you that.
says Daniel Penny. Daniel Penny.
Well, honestly, I'm not super familiar with the Daniel.
So we could talk about Daniel Penny a little bit. It's a pretty good one. So it was a long time ago, and people will claim it was a racial case, even though it wasn't. So Daniel Penny was a white guy trying to take public transportation. He was on the subway in New York City. There was like a dude on drugs that was like threatening people on the train. So Daniel Penny like put him in a headlock. The dude on drugs dies, kind of similar to George Floyd, except I believe there was a lot more evidence presented in the case that this guy didn't die from a chokehold. Like the guy that was doing the chokehold wasn't trying to kill him. Is kind of what happened. There was a criminal on the train, and of course, like he was a convicted criminal. But for the most part, he was a crazy homeless guy harassing people, and he got like pinned down and ended up dying. Daniel Penny gets arrested, but what happens in the trial is he gets off because he didn't do anything. And so they're trying to say like this guy, Carmelo Anthony, who stabbed a guy to death, should get off for the same reason. But it's not the same thing. The cases are a little bit different. Like Carmelo Anthony's life wasn't in danger, basically. But in the other case, I guess it was. We could look it up a little bit. Daniel, if you Google Daniel Penny, I love Wikipedia. It shows up as killing of Jordan Neely. That's what shows up first for Wikipedia. So let's see what Wikipedia says about it. So he was a 24-year-old Marine veteran, and the guy that died was like a career criminal, homeless, drug addict. So Neely, the guy that died, boarded the car and was riding and began threatening passengers. Penny approached Neely and put him in a chokehold until Neely went limp, and he just died, like straight up. Yeah, like it is crazy how like the media will side with the homeless crazy guy over like the veteran. Like today is a crazy world. People should like, look at both sides of the story and be like, all right, obviously this guy was trying to murder the homeless crazy guy. And then the medical examiner even ruled that the homicide was compression of the neck. So he got charged with second-degree manslaughter. He put him in a headlock, died. I do think the charge, I guess, is appropriate, but they found him not guilty. A grand jury indicted him with a lesser charge of criminally negligent homicide. He pleaded not guilty to both charges and faced up to 15 years. The manslaughter charge got dismissed because the jury was deadlocked. And then he got acquitted on the charge of criminally negligent homicide. And there's
The glove does not fit. You must acquit.
Yeah, so people will say like, oh, that's the jury being racist. Like they're letting a murderer, like they're sympathetic towards white people. They're white supremacists. Like it's a white supremacist jury, I guess. But I don't think that's true. Oh, there is footage of it. Maybe we can actually find the video of it and watch it ourselves. I haven't seen it if there is. Oh, here. Yeah, it looks like there is a video of it. Let's check it out. Yeah, and like that's the thing. There wasn't, they just say white supremacist. Like it wasn't a racist killing.
Stop being so racist.
Right. And then they'll call you racist. People will call you racist for saying that. Okay. Yo.
Visibly nervous 19-year-old Yvette Rosario told jurors she took that cell phone video from the subway platform after exiting the F train on May 1st, 2000.
So yeah, all you can kind of make it out. There's a guy on the ground, and then there's Daniel Penny on top of him. That's you can't make out too much more though.
Blurring Daniel Penny and Jordan Neely on the ground. Rosario testified she called 911.
But it didn't look like he had a knee on him or anything like that. But you couldn't see the chokehold.
And that prior to that video, 30-year-old Jordan Neely entered the train by putting his hand out to block the doors from closing. She did not see him physically approach any one person specifically and did not see any weapons on him. Rosario testified Neely was angrily telling people he was homeless, didn't have any money, and didn't care about going back to jail. I was very nervous, she said, so she put her head on her friend's chest, hoping the subway doors would open, telling the court she only looked up when she heard Penny and Neely hit the floor.
Oh, here's a picture of it. So yeah, it looks like you got him in a chokehold. It's hard to tell from one picture. It doesn't look hard enough to kill someone, but it's only one picture, so you can't really tell. But you also have another guy helping, like, pin down the guy who died, Jordan Neely. Like, it wasn't just Daniel Penny. There was another guy here that was also helping.
Hit the floor. 59-year-old freelance journalist Juan Alberto Vasquez.
Yeah, let's see if we can find that video. Juan Alberto Vasquez. Apparently he's got the best video, the one they used in court. Okay, we got a few stills from it. It's hard to see though. Let's see if I can zoom in. All right, so you do see the chokehold. Basically, the police or the people who charged him, the white guy, Daniel Penny, were trying to say that it was a manslaughter. He killed him from the chokehold. But the jury said, no, it doesn't look like that's the case. And so people said, oh, this is just racism. Let's see if we can talk about why the jury didn't convict him. Oh, he originally was questioned by the police but was released without charge the same day. So the charges came after the fact, which is interesting. Yeah, people characterized Penny as a hero. Yeah, exactly. He was the veteran, and saying he was a good Samaritan and that Jordan Neely was a dangerous individual. And there are just so many cases like this. Like one of them is like O.J. Simpson, where it seems very obvious that he did commit like a double homicide, but he got off. And basically the lawyers were saying, the only reason he's being charged with this crime is because of racism. There's so many examples. And you even have, like we covered last week, Henry Nowak. It was like a migrant guy, a Sikh guy that called Henry a racist. So the police didn't believe that he had been stabbed. And then, with Karmelo Anthony, it's not all the same, but basically you have him murdering like a white person and people saying like the only reason he's going to jail is because of racism, but like he murdered somebody. I wanted to do a stream talking about this because a lot of people are crashing out about one of these issues. A lot of people are spreading misinformation like it was an all-white jury, which it wasn't. People are leaving out the fact that Karmelo Anthony's family fundraised legally, by the way. The murderer was able to fundraise over $600,000, but he still had a public defender because his parents weren't even willing to pay for a lawyer for him. And like that kind of tells you a lot too about like maybe he did do it, maybe he is guilty and it wasn't worth paying for a lawyer. There's like a lot of facts like that people that defend him are leaving out or they're misled about. And let's check out the spaces again, see if it's too spicy or not. And disclaimer, we won't be saying any slurs, but all slurs will be said by a person of color. So YouTube, don't ban us. It's okay. So we'll come back to that. I found another space. This one is a conservative one talking about Karmelo. So it's going to be the opposite views of this. These people are going to support the sentencing of Karmelo Anthony and say that it was appropriate and not racist, which I kind of agree with.
A shame, because that's what this shouldn't be about. Thank you for the mic, you guys.
Thanks, Denise.
Thanks, Denise. Yep, good stuff.
Hey, Buck.
Can you hear it all right?
Buck?
Does it sound
No, Jesus.
No,
Yeah, it's
G
fine.
is not
Okay,
up.
okay.
Buck
Wait,
was next,
wait.
bro. I've been following him. G is after
Okay.
Buck, unless he wants
Okay,
to
go.
forego.
Go ahead, Buck.
Tell you what, let G go, and then we can talk about the greasers and the socks and the stabbing and Pony Boy and Soda Pop and all those guys. So go ahead, G.
Oh, Corn Pop.
Hey
She
guys,
has
I
protected
didn't really weigh
posts.
in on this because I kind of knew how the rhetoric was going to go, and I'm really not interested, and I really am not, because I do feel that there's too many race baiters on this app.
There is for
And
sure on X.
listen, there is justification for some things to be said, but then a lot of the times on a broad case, I don't feel it. And when we talk
On a
about the word
board
hood
case?
rat, well, I hate to tell y'all, we're Italian. We would call hood rats. We were hood rats. We were in the street day and night, and we were hood rats. We fought avenue against avenue, gang fight.
I guess we'll come back to that. They're kind of going off topic. Let's play
They was
back.
hood rats and shit.
Yeah, the Italians used. Yeah, exactly. People say that like the first, couple waves of immigration was like Italians, and like they were like the minority, so everyone like picked on them.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, and then it kind of turned into like over time like different ethnicities. Yeah. All right. Let's listen to his like intro. So this guy has 370,000 followers. So like he has a big following.
Let me get a thumbs up, ladies.
A lot of people agree with what he says.
Jury not of his peers. This white supremacist adjacent jury.
See, he calls the jury white supremacist adjacent. He's like, the jury's not racist, but he's just saying that they are.
Found
Sounds
our
like
brother
he's the
guilty
race
of
baiter.
murder.
Exactly. Like that's the real
in this
racism.
case, which is a clear case of self-defense.
And he calls the Karmelo Anthony case a clear case of self-defense. And it looks like Karmelo Anthony's parents, they weren't willing to buy him a lawyer. So I'm guessing they believe that he's guilty. And it looks like the jury also believes that he's guilty. And we'll get more into it. But it looks like most people think that he's guilty, like he murdered someone. It's kind of undeniable.
All right. This case was about self-defense. It was self-defense from top to bottom. All
From
right.
top to bottom.
This
Crickets.
met
From the top
the
to the
threshold
bottom.
of self-defense if I've ever seen a case.
Bottom, top,
This,
and stop.
this was not murder in any sense of the word. This wasn't premeditated, wasn't pre-planned.
And a lot of people disagree. I kind of disagree. This guy did bring a knife into that tent. And then people like him will argue he had that knife because of his cleats for track. He needed them to do something with his cleats. And it's like, even if that was true, which like the knives were prohibited on campus, so he couldn't have brought it. Like he wasn't supposed to have it. But even if that was true and he was allowed to have it, which he wasn't, he still brought it to that tent. And it's like, you should probably just put it in your bag. You shouldn't have that on you and like ready to whip out. And so people say like this was premeditated. He was going in that tent. He had the knife and maybe he was looking for some trouble. He was asked to leave over 15 times and didn't leave. It was a track meet and he went into the other team's tent, basically, is what happened. And then it looks like he had a friend in there that invited him into the tent. But when he was asked to leave, the friend, I don't know if the friend also said that he should leave, but the friend didn't say like he could stay. The friend didn't say like, oh, it's okay. Like, this is my friend. Like, he could stay. The friend didn't say that.
From the testimony I heard, every team was under their own prospective tent.
Yeah, he should have been in his
friend,
tent.
Even his friend was like, "Why are you, why are you over in their tent?"
Right. Yeah, he should have been in his tent. Like, he shouldn't have been in the other person's tent. And he even was told to leave 15 times.
That kid didn't leave his house that morning planning on having to stop somebody from attacking him.
Oh, talk about race baiter.
Yeah, that's all this guy
So you
does.
got to really break this thing down. Last night I was on TikTok and I did a
What's this
live.
guy's name?
I said last night his
Tariq
lawyer,
Nasheed.
that lawyer of his,
Never heard
was
of him.
deliberately.
Yeah, he's popular on X. I don't know if
Alright.
he's popular anywhere else.
I talked about that damn lawyer of Carmelo's.
It's this guy.
That
This is
lawyer was
Linktree.
messing up families.
He's got
and I talked
Instagram,
about how
Facebook.
some of these lawyers in the dominant society,
Looks like
when
some
you
kind
have
of
racially
podcast or
charged cases
shows.
like
It's
this,
got a Patreon. No
they will
YouTube though, I don't
sacrifice
think.
a win so they can stay on code with Team White
Crazy.
Supremacy.
It's got a
family.
website.
Y'all better understand that. See, this is a lesson here. Everybody needs to learn from this case. Now, we're not shocked. And the white T supremacists out here.
My
Do we have any
stream's
white
getting a little.
supremacists in
Oh,
here?
here we go.
Because I
Stream
know a
was
lot of the
lagging a
white
little bit.
supremacists are taking victory laps right now. They're jumping up, high-fiving, they're throwing May.
Yeah, so he's saying white supremacists are taking victory laps. I mean, I'm not gonna disagree with that. Like, they are, but most people, like the average person, is like, oh, it's just good that a criminal is facing justice. Like it's good that the justice system works.
Mayo all over the place. We fucking did it, dude. Oh, okay. Are you crying? You blacks mad? They want us to be mad. Listen, y'all.
And so he's saying that the white supremacists are race baiting because of this case. Maybe they are, but that's what he's doing right now as well.
Y'all been doing the same shit since the 1600s.
Oh yeah, he goes into some
We're not
stupid
really.
stuff.
We're not mad. You're
He starts
doing the
going into some
same thing
stuff
that
that
you've
doesn't
always
matter.
done. You're reiterating what we say that you do. Yeah, y'all running around thinking that you're antagonizing us. Family, you white supremacists. Y'all
Family.
been doing the same thing. It's been the same laws since the 1600s. There's always been laws
Yeah, he's trying to say this is like a Jim Crow
against
thing.
black people defending themselves from white aggression. That's not new. We're used to that. Now you're openly doing it, which is kind of good. So now all of these other dumb sleep Negroes are stopped being obtuse. So yeah, y'all just doing what we've been saying you're doing. You're doing it openly. Good. Let us practice open white supremacy. That means you're getting sloppy and clumsy. Good.
Yeah, so he thinks there's a bunch of open white supremacists. But in reality, it's a bunch of people that are kind of sick of the crime.
Practice it openly. Be openly hypocritical because we're seeing these cases now. A black person, there is no self-defense for a black person defending themselves from white aggression. Whatever you do to a black person, it's self-defense. Even when a black child is running away from you, pew-pewing him in the back is self-defense. If a black man is on a train talking to himself, choking him from the back and unaliving
So
him
he's talking
is
about
self-defense.
he's talked about George Zimmerman, and then he talked about Daniel Penny. In the George Zimmerman case, George Zimmerman had physical bruises and stuff like on him, like he was attacked. I forget the guy that he killed. I forget his name. It looked more like self-defense than this. Like George Zimmerman, like his face was beat up, like he did get punched and stuff.
The threshold for self-defense is literally I'm white and I say so. A black person don't even have to be doing anything to you. You unalive them, it's self-defense. So we're seeing that play out in real life, in real time. We're seeing the Kyle Rittenhouses run across state borders,
Oh, and Kyle
state
Rittenhouse,
lines
that's another
with
one.
assault rifles.
So Kyle Rittenhouse was a white guy that was at a BLM riot, and he had a gun. He was like protecting some business. And first of all, people try to claim that like he was murdering black people, but I'm pretty sure it was two white guys that died.
There was no. He didn't shoot a black person.
Right. It was all white people, right? It was like three white guys. I think
Yeah.
two of them died. But people like this Tariq guy try to say it's a racial thing. Like Kyle's a white supremacist, but he shot other white people and they were trying to kill him. Like one of them threw a skateboard at him, and another one was like reaching for his gun. And I think one of them even had a gun. I could be wrong about that. But anyway, people on the left think Kyle Rittenhouse is the real criminal and should be in jail. And I even used to think that when I was younger, but it's just not true.
Unaliving people, and y'all saying, yep, that's self-defense. But when a black person minding his business is getting accosted and assaulted by two corn-fed hillbillies.
Yeah, so he claims that Austin Metcalf, so this Tariq guy is claiming that Austin Metcalf and his brother were attacking Carmelo Anthony, and so Carmelo Anthony acted in self-defense. That's not true. The jury found that not true. They even saw a video of the killing that hasn't been released to the public yet, but that would be in the video. Like, I'm sure the video proves this guy's claim wrong, that the two brothers weren't attacking him.
So we're seeing the hypocrisy just being played out very openly and very blatantly, which is going to work in our favor. Now, white supremacists, what you need to understand with this is that the Carmelo case, what you've done, you created a living martyr. All right. This ain't gonna go like you think it's gonna go.
He
You
calls
didn't erase
Carmelo a
him. See,
martyr,
this wasn't like a Tamir Rice or a Trayvon Martin or some shit
but
like
he's not a
that, where
martyr.
you
He's a
get
murderer.
a black kid and
So he's like trying to turn it into a movement, like
this
George
brother's alive,
Floyd.
he's breathing. He wasn't a criminal at all. He's a great kid. You
And that's so this.
got a person who had a bright future, who's a phenomenal kid, wasn't a thug, wasn't a degenerate, nothing.
And so I want to make a comment about that, an unfortunate comment. He wasn't a bad student. He wasn't a criminal. He wasn't a thug. Like he was a good student. He seemed like a good kid. So why would he murder somebody? Like what's up with that? And there is one thing that he was that white supremacists are very quick to point out that it kind of makes you think like, yeah, you say he was a good kid, but why did he murder somebody then? Like that doesn't exactly make sense. That argument, like obviously he wasn't that great of a person, if he like stabbed somebody to death. And it's like, why did he do that
But
in the
you've made a
first place
living
if he
martyr
was
out of him.
all
Now
these
they're
things?
filing appeals and all this stuff, and that's good. But now he's become a name that people can galvanize around. You've turned Carmelo into a political prisoner.
Yeah, he calls him a political prisoner.
Political prisoners are very dangerous to oppressive systems.
But
So
I
it's
would call
not
him a
about just
murderer.
individuals no more. You become he's like living proof of injustice.
So yeah, you get pretty hot takes from this guy. It was an interesting listen. Oh, another similar case is Chud the Builder. So Chud the Builder is a white guy, right? He was walking outside of a courthouse because he was already getting charged, I believe, for some other kind of potential racist crime. And he's like a known race baiter. He was walking out of the courthouse, Chud the Builder. Somebody, a black person, I'm not trying to make it about race, but all these cases is like kind of the elephant in the room that we're talking about. Some black guy attacks him, like punches him or something. So Chud the Builder shoots him. He didn't die. Nobody died. Unlike the Carmelo Anthony case, nobody died. But Chud the Builder got arrested and he's in jail right now. So we'll have to wait for his trial. But from what it looks like, there was even a witness saying, "Oh yeah, Chud got attacked. Like someone tried to punch him or something, or he got punched. I don't know all the details yet. It's still developing." But what it looks like is he'll probably get off, and these same group of people are gonna overreact and say it's because of racism, when like the actual racism is like maybe like soft on crime policies that make it so people think they can get away with this kind of stuff. And you're kind of seeing that in the UK right now with like the migrant crime, and you're seeing like a mass uproar. Like people are like starting to say something about it and be like, why don't you, if you're going to make it about race, like why don't you try to uplift your own race? And by race baiting, that's not going to do anything. You should just try to like stop committing crimes. Why would you come if you're a migrant? Like why would you come to a foreign land to like make it worse? Like shouldn't you try to make it better and be welcome that you're here, or stay where you live if you can and try to make that area better? But it's kind of like maybe the real racism is people who deem themselves to be like underprivileged, people who feel like they've grown up in a system that's racist against them. So it's okay to commit crime or take advantage of like social programs. That's kind of what a lot of people are just calling out at this point, which is great. And we're going to be covering this stuff on the channel.
Wasn't a thug, wasn't a degenerate. Turned Carmelo into a political prisoner.
Yeah, political prisoner is such a crazy
Political
take.
prisoners are very dangerous to oppressive systems. So it's not about just individuals no more. You become he's like living proof of injustice.
So it was Chud the Builder. I wasn't done with him. So people on the right, or as this guy would call white supremacists, will say that Chud the Builder being arrested is the real injustice because he was actually acting in self-defense. What he was doing is like someone attacked him and he shot them, so he shouldn't be the one that's getting arrested. But with Carmelo Anthony overreacted. He wasn't acting in self-defense. It was like you can almost argue premeditated just because he brought the knife there that was prohibited on campus. But either way, he murdered someone. He wasn't injured or anything. Allegedly, the worst thing that happened to him after he was asked to leave or the other team's tent at the track meet is that he got lightly shoved, allegedly. Apparently that's on the video. I can't wait to watch the video. It hasn't been released yet. But like his life wasn't in danger. This Tariq guy claims like it was the two brothers who were attacking him, so it was in self-defense. And it's like, even by that logic, you should still feel the same way about Chud the Builder, that Chud the Builder should be free. But this guy would never say that, like ever. And so you have a lot of people, a pretty big movement, like a conservative movement, in not even just the US. Like you have Trump is the president. The Trump administration right now is very much against this stuff. And you have a lot of vocal people online that are very willing to call it out. which leads to some good memes, so that's a lot of fun. And then similarly with the migrant crime and the like special privileges that minorities get in the UK and other parts of Europe, you're seeing like a conservative movement there. You're seeing a lot of protests for pretty much the same reason, just like mistreatment. It kind of goes back to like race, like racial division. If the system says you're a victim, you get to always say that you're a victim. But if the system says that you're not a victim, you're an oppressive class, if you call out any injustices on your end, you'll be labeled a racist. And that's worse than being labeled a murderer currently. That's how a lot of
Murderer.
people feel. Yeah. That's why you have like politicians and stuff taking a knee for George Floyd, but you don't have them taking a knee for Henry Nowak. But if the
Murderer.
races were reversed, they would take a knee if he was black. I guess give me your thoughts, leave a comment, like and subscribe so you can check out more stuff like this on the channel. I'm sure we'll have a Carmelo Anthony update if they release the footage. Either way, subscribe and check out other videos on the channel and have a good night.